In the quiet fold of an evening that seemed stitched together with silken threads of wind, the night leaned close as though it wished to listen rather than simply exist. Its darkness was not a wall but a soft, breathing presence that drifted around the edges of the world, gathering every whisper that rose from the sleeping earth. Even the trees, usually rustling with their own ancient talk, stood still as if offering the night a moment of reverence. And in that stillness, a sense of listening grew, patient, gentle, and impossibly vast, like the universe itself holding its breath to hear a single fragile voice speak. There was a path winding through the meadow, where each blade of grass bowed slightly as though acknowledging the steps of anyone who dared to walk beneath so attentive a sky. The night followed every movement, the way a calm tide follows someone stepping slowly along its shore, not intruding but staying near with quiet companionship. Somewhere far away, an owl let out a low call, the sound drifting like the soft toll of a distant bell. It felt as though the night caught the sound lovingly, placing it among its collection of small secrets, letting it shine for a moment before tucking it away again. The moon's rise came without haste, a silver lantern lifting itself gently into view, brushing the horizon with a pale shimmer that looked almost like the beginning of a dream. It climbed higher, and the light it shed was so soft that it seemed designed not for brightness but for reassurance, as though every creature, every wandering thought, deserved to feel safe beneath its glow. The night welcomed the moon like an old friend returning home, their radiance and darkness fitting together with a harmony that felt older than memory. And under that combined tenderness, the world exhaled. A breeze wandered through, carrying a coolness that touched the skin like a thoughtful hand making sure everything was comfortable. It curled around stones, dipped into hollows, and brushed across flowers that were half asleep, coaxing their faint scents into the open air. Even the breeze seemed subdued, mindful that this was not a night for disturbance but for listening, for collecting the quiet stories that rose from soil, water, and breath. The sky above flickered with stars, each one seeming to blink more slowly, as though they too were sinking into the rhythm of a lullaby. Far off, at the edge of the landscape, a small stream drifted gently over smooth stones, its flow soft enough that it sounded like murmured assurances given to no one in particular. The night cupped the sound, letting it ripple outward like rings spreading on a calm pond. Anyone walking near it would have felt as though the world itself was whispering in a language they almost understood. Every note of the water carried a sense of acceptance, as though nothing needed to be fixed, rushed, or held too tightly. Above the stream, the branches of old trees reached toward one another, forming arches that framed patches of sky like windows into deeper stillness. Their leaves swayed with a steady, delicate motion that suggested an unspoken dialogue with the night. The shadows beneath them stretched long and peaceful, shaped not by fear but by a kind of gentle invitation. They seemed to say, "Here you may rest, here you may breathe without expectation, here you may simply exist without the weight of the day pressing upon your shoulders." In the far field, where moonlight pooled like silver water, a fox stepped carefully across the grass. Its paws made no sound, its movement almost ceremonial in its grace. The night watched, not with hunger or judgment but with curiosity, holding space for the fox's quiet journey. When the animal paused to lift its nose toward the air, the night seemed to lean closer, as though exchanging a soft greeting that only living beings shaped from silence could share. Then the fox slipped into the shadows, becoming part of the night's whispering world. Not far from that field, a small hill rose like a gentle swell in the landscape, and atop it stood a solitary stone, smooth from time, cold beneath the moon. Anyone who touched it would feel the night hum through the surface, a vibration so faint it might have been imagined. Yet the quiet presence felt real, as though the stone had been listening for centuries, storing the soft impressions of passing nights. Under the moon's glow, it gleamed with subtle silver tones, turning into a landmark for wandering thoughts that needed somewhere safe to land. The air grew cooler as the night deepened, and each breath taken seemed to fill the chest with calm rather than chill. Even the smallest sounds, a twig settling, a leaf brushing another, were softened by the vastness around them. Nothing seemed sharp or disruptive. Everything felt rounded, muted, designed to soothe. It was the kind of quiet that invited burdens to loosen, memories to untangle, and worries to drift into the distance like faint trails of smoke dissolving in the dark. Nearby, a small cabin stood tucked beneath ancient pines, its wooden walls absorbing the night like a deep breath. A faint warm glow pulsed through the cracks around its windows, not bright enough to disturb the stillness but just enough to hint at gentle life within. The night wrapped itself around the cabin, as if listening to the soft crackle of firewood inside, the slow turning of someone settling beneath a blanket, or the quiet sighs that came with winding down from a long day. The world felt safe, even for those alone. Inside that cabin, a single candle flickered, its flame dancing with a gentle confidence against the shadows. The night peered through the window, curious but never intrusive, letting the golden light paint shapes that swayed on the walls. Each small movement of the flame felt like a story in itself, one of warmth, presence, and endurance. The candle seemed to whisper its own language of comfort, a counterpart to the night's silence, creating a partnership that soothed the entire room. Outside again, the meadow stretched wide and uninterrupted, a sea of calm reaching toward the horizon. The moonlight brushed the grass tops, making them glimmer faintly like the surface of a quiet ocean. The night moved slowly across that expanse, touching everything with equal tenderness: fallen logs, small stones, sleeping insects, and the soft mounds of burrows beneath the earth. Nothing was overlooked. Everything belonged, held gently within the night's listening embrace. Above, the stars continued their slow shimmer, not rushed by the turning world. The constellations seemed to drift slightly, though their positions held steady, as though they too were enjoying the stillness. Occasionally one star flickered brighter than the rest, and the night welcomed that brightness, weaving it into its tapestry of soft lights. In their calm glow, one could almost imagine each star sharing a story of ancient fire, long travels, or distant worlds unseen yet deeply felt. On a distant ridge, the silhouette of a fallen tree lay stretched across the ground, its twisted limbs creating patterns that looked like calligraphy against the sky. The night brushed over the wood, filling the spaces between its branches, softening what once might have appeared lonely or broken. Instead, the fallen tree seemed to rest peacefully, becoming another part of the quiet landscape. The night held it gently, making even the remnants of storms feel like pieces of a larger, soothing tale. Near the ridge, the air carried the faint scent of pine resin, earth, and the lingering memory of sunlight absorbed during the day. The night blended these scents into a calm perfume that drifted effortlessly through the open space. Anyone breathing it would feel something settle inside them, a sense of grounding, as though the night was reminding them of their place within the natural world, not as an outsider but as someone belonging to the rhythm of breath, shadow, and quiet wonder. Back near the stream, the water continued its soft journey, but the sound had changed slightly as the night grew deeper. It seemed slower, more deliberate, as if the stream itself had begun to match the pace of the world around it. The ripples shimmered with small reflections of starlight, creating moving patterns that resembled drifting constellations. The night observed this quiet dance with affection, letting the patterns shift and fade at their own gentle will. A small cluster of fireflies emerged from the tall grass, their golden pulses flickering in uneven rhythms that somehow felt harmonious. They drifted upward, and the night caught their flickers like tiny sparks of curiosity. The glowing trails twisted softly through the air, creating brief constellations that faded almost as soon as they appeared. Yet each spark left a kind of warmth, a reminder that even in the stillest moments, life continued to glow in its own small, beautiful ways. Under an old arching willow, the shadows looked like curtains of dark silk, swaying just enough to reveal glimpses of the moonlit ground beneath. The night gathered around the willow's sweeping branches, slowing itself even further as if honoring the tree's age and grace. The leaves whispered together in a soft rustling chorus that carried the tone of stories too old to understand fully, yet somehow soothing simply to hear. It was a lullaby without words, but deeply felt. Closer to the cabin again, the wind brushed past the windowpane, tapping lightly as though checking in, making sure all was well inside. The knight listened to the faint sounds within, the crackle of settling embers, the deepening breaths of someone drifting into sleep, the soft rustle of a blanket being pulled closer. Everything felt aligned, every moment arranged with care, as though the night was guiding all things toward a deeper, more restful state. The moon reached its highest point, lantern-like and unhurried, spreading its soft light evenly across fields, hills, water, and wood. Its glow felt like a kind conversation held across great distance, reassuring but never demanding. The night embraced that glow, letting it settle in all the places that needed a little brightness, without disturbing the calm that wrapped the world. Even the stars seemed to dim slightly in deference to the moon's gentle presence. On the far edge of the meadow, where shadows pooled like ink, a breeze rose again, swirling lightly before drifting onward. It carried with it the sensation of turning pages, as though the night itself was flipping slowly through the chapters of a silent book. The world felt suspended in a moment that did not rush forward, did not cling to the past, but hovered in perfect balance, held by the night's attentive quiet. As the hours stretched on, the night's listening grew even deeper, becoming almost a living thing, warm, enveloping, and kind. Every creature, every drifting thought, every shifting shadow seemed welcomed into its soft embrace. The universe felt smaller, somehow more intimate, as though everything rested within the cupped hands of an immense but gentle presence. And in that presence, peace settled like a slow-falling blanket. And finally, in the heart of that vast stillness, the night seemed to whisper back, its voice not a sound but a feeling, telling the world that it was safe, that it was held, that it could rest completely. The darkness was no longer something to move through but something to settle into, soft and listening, waiting patiently for dreams to rise like tiny lanterns. The night listened, and in doing so, it offered the world the most soothing gift it had, the space to simply be. The first hint of morning did not arrive with any boldness, nor with the triumphant flare of a rising sun eager to reclaim the sky. Instead, it drifted in softly, like a breath barely exhaled by the horizon, a pale shimmer that seemed unsure of its own presence at first. It touched the darkness with the gentlest intention, as though asking permission to enter, and the night, in its patient calm, slowly gave way. That faint early light felt less like something seen and more like something sensed, a tender shift in the air, a subtle warmth just beginning to gather beneath the surface of the world. Across the meadow, the darkness thinned as though drawn out like a long thread, unraveling with quiet grace. The pale glow that replaced it spread like diluted watercolor, brushing the landscape with hues so subtle they could easily be mistaken for dream remnants. Grass that had slumbered beneath moonlight began to reveal its color once more, though muted and softened by the translucence of dawn's earliest whisper. The world didn't yet belong to day or night, it rested in between, held in the fragile moment where both existed together. The air itself seemed to shift, lightening in a way that was not about temperature but about feeling, as if the atmosphere had inhaled deeply and now exhaled in long, calming waves. A faint coolness brushed across the skin, layered with a mild promise, a sense that something new was gathering quietly, preparing to take shape. Even the shadows, which had ruled the night with gentle confidence, loosened their hold, becoming transparent silhouettes that no longer clung but drifted in slow retreat. Over the distant hills, a soft line of color began to bloom, a tender peach mixed with pale lavender, so modest that it barely registered until one focused long enough to notice its delicate expansion. It grew the way a secret grows when shared in a whisper, spreading from one curve of earth to the next. The sky above remained deep and still, holding on to the last threads of starlight, but the horizon knew what was coming and began to welcome it with patient acceptance. A lonely bird gave the first call of morning, not loud or insistent, but tentative, as though testing the new air to see if it was ready to carry sound again. The note was brief, uncertain, and yet the dawn embraced it immediately, catching it like something precious. Soon another note followed, and then another, each soft, each spaced apart like careful footsteps on fragile ground. The chorus was not yet formed, but the beginning had been made, as gentle as the first brush of light itself. The trees along the stream stirred faintly, their leaves shimmering with the earliest reflection of dawn. Each leaf seemed to hold a tiny droplet of the growing light, catching it not in brilliance but in soft, muted glow. Branches that had stood in complete stillness through the night now began to move with slow, waking motions, as though stretching limbs that had rested long under the comfort of shadow. The night's silence lingered, but the anticipation of morning wove through it like a new thread. Along the water's edge, the stream mirrored the first glimmers of dawn with reluctant clarity. The surface, once dark and unreadable, began to pick up the faintest silver tone, hinting at the light rising just beyond the horizon. Ripples appeared as the breeze reached the water, creating gentle distortions that danced across the newborn reflections. The sound of flowing water softened further, as though adjusting its rhythm to suit the tenderness of early light. A thin mist began to rise from the ground, curling upward in delicate veils that blended seamlessly with the gentle colors in the sky. It moved slowly, drifting across the meadow like a procession of silent spirits making their way toward the brightening horizon. The mist did not obscure the landscape. Instead, it softened everything it touched, turning edges into suggestions and shapes into blurred whispers. The light interacted with the mist in a way that made the world feel newly formed, fragile, and profoundly serene. The moon, pale and nearly transparent now, lingered near the opposite edge of the sky, as if watching the transformation unfold with affectionate reluctance. Its silvery outline faded slowly, but not mournfully. There was a quiet understanding between the moon and the rising light. One offered rest, the other renewal, and in this peaceful exchange, the world received both without conflict. The moon dipped lower, slipping into the comfort of disappearing light. The stars, too, dimmed one by one, not extinguished but gently escorted away by dawn's approach. They flickered faintly, as though blinking themselves to sleep after a long vigil. The sky above them had already begun to adopt the softening hues of morning, a gradient shifting from deep blue to tender gray, carrying the subtle warmth of the coming sun. In their quiet retreat, the stars left behind a sense of vastness that did not vanish even as daylight prepared to take over. In the cabin beneath the pines, the warm glow from the night's candle had faded, leaving only the faint scent of melted wax lingering in the air. The embers in the hearth glowed dull red, breathing out a final, gentle warmth. The first fingers of dawn reached the window, pressing lightly against the glass as if knocking softly, inviting the room to wake at its own pace. The shadows inside shifted slightly, their edges blurring as the early light seeped into the corners. Outside, the breeze picked up again, carrying with it the renewed scent of earth, pine, and dew. It swept across the meadow in long, smooth strokes, brushing the grass as if tidying it after a long night of stillness. The breeze held no urgency, it simply moved with the rhythm of morning, participating in the unfolding quiet rather than altering it. Birds perched on high branches turned their heads toward the horizon, attentive but unhurried. The fox that had wandered across the field in darkness now paused beneath a cluster of low bushes, its fur touched by the first hints of dawn. The soft light painted its form with delicate strokes, revealing shades and contours hidden through the night. The fox blinked slowly, its eyes reflecting the faint glow rising in the distance. After a moment of stillness, it slipped away into the underbrush, its movement nearly soundless, as though respecting the fragile quiet that still held the world. The first insects began to stir, though their buzzing remained muted, softened by the lingering coolness of early light. A single moth drifted lazily through the thinning shadows, its wings catching pale glints that made it look like a tiny fragment of dawn come to life. The meadow around it seemed to breathe, each blade of grass lifting just a little higher as the warmth beneath the horizon grew. All life seemed suspended between sleep and waking, held in the calm tension of becoming. The colors along the sky deepened with time, gaining strength but never rushing. That tender peach grew warmer, blending into gentle rose and faint gold, like pigments dissolving into one another in a wash of quiet radiance. The light spilled across the distant hills, tracing their curves with soft clarity, making them appear as though they were slowly rising from their own slumber. The horizon brightened further, though the sun remained hidden, allowing its promise to unfold gradually. A second chorus of birds finally joined the early risers, their calls overlapping with smooth, melodic ease. They filled the air with gentle notes that seemed more like murmured conversations than declarations. The dawn accepted each voice, blending them into the soft hum of waking life. The sound did not disturb the calm, instead, it enriched it, offering a reminder that even the smallest creature holds a place in the morning's slow, attentive unfolding. The tree branches above cast faint, delicate shadows on the ground, shadows thinner and lighter than those of night, shaped by a light not yet strong enough to define edges sharply. These shadows wavered gently as the breeze shifted the leaves, forming patterns that seemed to sway along with the rhythms of dawn. The forest, which had slept under the night's listening presence, now stirred in a collective exhale, rejoining the cycle of day with patient grace. On the ridge, the fallen tree that had rested beneath moonlight began to reveal its finer textures, the curve of its worn bark, the hidden ridges, the subtle layers smoothed by time. The early light brushed these details with quiet affection, giving the fallen tree a presence that felt more thoughtful than somber. In the hushed brightness, even the remnants of storms seemed softened, as if dawn offered forgiveness to all things weathered by darkness. Near the stream, the water grew brighter, catching the first hints of warm color reflected from the sky. The silver tones deepened into pale gold where small ripples shifted, turning the surface into a mosaic of light that changed with every breath of wind. The sound of the flowing water gained clarity, rising slightly in pitch as though waking from a long, soothing slumber. It blended seamlessly with the quiet chorus of birds and breeze, creating a gentle symphony meant only for those awake at this early hour. The mist began to dissolve, its delicate veils unraveling into the warming air. Each wisp faded slowly, as though reluctant to leave, but the light welcomed the landscape back into clear view. Where the mist thinned, colors emerged more boldly, greens richer, browns deeper, and the soft earth tones glowing faintly under the promise of sunrise. The world regained its outlines, though none of the calmness left with the mist. Instead, the stillness deepened into something more grounded, more complete. As dawn continued to unfold, the first rays of approaching sunlight hovered just beneath the horizon, their warmth still hidden but their presence unmistakable. The sky seemed to hum with quiet anticipation, as if preparing to release something long held and deeply precious. Every creature, every breath of wind, every shifting shadow seemed to sense it, pausing in gentle expectation. The world did not rush toward the moment, it welcomed it with the slow, thoughtful acceptance that only early morning can carry. And when the horizon finally brightened enough to hint at the sun's imminent arrival, the first light, no longer hesitant, yet still gentle, spread across the land like a whisper made visible. It did not shout its arrival, it breathed it. The world, wrapped in its calm glow, felt reborn in silence and softness, held securely in the tender hands of morning's very first promise. You said, the galaxies that rise in the earliest moments of the universe seemed to swell with a kind of secret urgency, as though they inherited some ancient whisper from the first light and carried it forward with gentle determination. When scientists look back across the deep dark, they expect to find tiny, newborn galaxies still gathering their first handfuls of stars. Instead, they discover fully blooming systems, too bright, too massive, too grown for the age in which they belong. It is as if the cosmos, in those young moments, had no patience for slowness and allowed matter to gather with the enthusiasm of a dream that refuses to wait for the dreamer's permission. Astronomers often speak softly when they describe these early giants, almost as if raising their voices might disturb their fragile glow. These galaxies shine with surprising abundance, their stars burning like tiny lanterns lit far too early. In the calm quiet of cosmic dawn, they pulse with energy that should not yet exist, forming clusters and shapes that defy the measured tempo predicted by the universe's earliest rules. And as the light from these galaxies travels billions of years to reach us, it carries with it a gentle reminder that the universe does not always follow the rhythmic pace we expect. Each of these unexpectedly large galaxies feels like a delicate clue left behind by time, offering a message in the language of starlight. They show what might happen when gravity, gas, and the raw materials of existence come together with unexpected urgency. Instead of slow gathering, they form sweeping structures, radiant arms, and luminous cores, as though they were rushing to make themselves known before the universe settled into the steady expansion we understand today. Their growth becomes a soft puzzle, a cosmic lullaby woven through ancient beams of redshifted light. Scientists sift through this light like caretakers of an old library, examining each wavelength for meaning. They trace the signatures of hydrogen, helium, and dust to understand how these galaxies learned to build themselves so quickly. Instead of chaos, they find a quiet elegance, a universe still warm from its birth, dense enough that matter could cling together with surprising efficiency. In that density, the seeds of stars could gather sooner, and the first galaxies could blossom faster, as if the cosmos itself encouraged a brief moment of rapid creativity. Yet even with those explanations, the galaxies grow larger than the models predicted, glowing with a kind of energetic boldness. It is this excess, this luminous confidence, that gives astronomers pause. It hints at physics unaccounted for, or at the universe's ability to surprise us in ways that invite wonder rather than alarm. The galaxies become storytellers, telling us that the early universe was not a place of hesitation, but a place overflowing with potential. When the telescopes capture their images, the galaxies appear like faint smudges painted across velvet darkness. But inside each smudge is a tale of rapid formation, stars racing into existence, dust gathering like drifting snow, gas collapsing into brilliant knots of light. These processes move with a pace that feels almost unrealistic, yet they follow rules set by the universe's earliest conditions, rules we are still learning to understand. And so the galaxies offer gentle contradictions, urging us deeper into their soft mysteries. The more astronomers study, the more they realize that early galaxies behave like overachievers in a classroom of cosmic children. While most small galaxies take billions of years to assemble their mass, these ancient ones accumulate heft at astonishing speed. It is as though they heard the universe's earliest heartbeat and felt the need to rush, to grow, to shine, as if racing the fading warmth of the primordial era. Their urgency becomes part of the universe's early melody, a song layered beneath the microwave background's quiet hum. Observations show dense clumps of stars packed tightly into these early structures, suggesting that star formation burst forth like a sudden wave rather than a slow drip. Gas clouds collapsed with ease, and dark matter halos, invisible but influential, may have guided this rapid construction. In the gentle glow of their starlight, we find hints that these galaxies were not merely forming, they were flourishing with a vigor that seems almost sentimental, as if they wanted to make the most of their early moments. These galaxies also challenge our sense of cosmic time. They remind us that billions of years stretch across the universe like a serene ocean, and what feels immense to us was once just the infancy of everything. In that infancy, pressures, temperatures, and densities aligned to create a brief window where growth could happen almost effortlessly. The galaxies simply responded to the invitation, rising like constellations in a dream, faster than any modern system could hope to replicate. Though they grow fast, there is nothing frantic about their presence. Their light floats across eons with steady calm, carrying the memory of a time when the universe moved with different rhythms. Their early formation does not feel rushed when you look at it through the eyes of deep time. Instead, it becomes a quiet revelation of how adaptable and creative the cosmos can be when conditions shift. Their formation is not chaos, it is a soft, ancient choreography. Some of these galaxies appear to merge with others in their vicinity, combining their masses like gentle embraces rather than violent collisions. Even in these interactions, their growth remains smooth and graceful, as if the universe laid out a path for them to follow. These mergers help explain their unexpected size, adding layers of starlight and smoothing out their shapes. Their evolution becomes less a mystery and more a quiet testament to the crowded environment of early cosmic neighborhoods. Even so, the speed of their development still stretches our models. Astronomers refine their simulations, adjusting parameters and exploring new possibilities. Perhaps there were reservoirs of cold gas more abundant than expected, or pockets of dark matter structured in ways we have yet to realize. Each new idea becomes a thread in the tapestry of understanding, and the galaxies shimmer at the edge of that tapestry like memory fragments waiting to be decoded. As the telescopes deepen their vision, each new observation adds tenderness to the unfolding story. The galaxies become companions to the researchers who study them, distant yet somehow familiar. Their existence teaches patience, reminding us that the universe reveals itself slowly, offering only what we are ready to understand. And in this slow revelation, the galaxy's rapid growth becomes not an anomaly but a gift, a gentle complication that enriches the narrative. Their abundant stars, some already old by the time we observe them, add another layer to this complexity. How could such maturity exist so early? The answer may lie in the universe's ability to recycle matter quickly, to fuse elements in short, intense bursts of formation. It may also lie in the interplay between radiation, gas cooling, and gravitational collapse, each shaping the other in a balanced dance. The galaxy's maturity becomes a reflection of this cosmic cooperation. In the most ancient of them, we see heavy elements that should require many generations of stars to create. Yet here they are, shimmering through the spectrum, hinting that star formation might have been more efficient, more clustered, more robust early on. These elements drift through the galaxies like tiny signatures left behind by the universe's first experiments in stellar alchemy. Their presence suggests a cycle of formation and destruction far faster than we once imagined. Some of these galaxies host swirling structures that resemble modern spirals, though less defined. They are protoshapes, early attempts at the patterns we see today. Their arms are clumpy rather than smooth, their centers more chaotic, but they carry the promise of the grand spirals that would come billions of years later. Observing them feels like watching a child learning to draw rough lines, eager strokes, and yet unmistakably the beginnings of something recognizable. Others appear as compact balls of brightness, crushed by gravity into dense forms that resemble cosmic fireflies. Their cores burn fiercely, producing light that belies their small size. These compact galaxies suggest that intense gravitational wells formed early, pulling matter inward with remarkable efficiency. Their glow is soft but unwavering, like lanterns hung in a dark forest long before paths were carved. The interplay between dark matter and ordinary matter becomes especially important in these early systems. Invisible halos gather first, creating gravitational pockets where gas can cool and collapse. As gas settles into these pockets, stars ignite, shaping the first outlines of a galaxy. This relationship unfolds in silence, a partnership hidden from view but essential to the universe's early architecture. The galaxies we see today are echoes of that silent partnership. These early, fast-growing galaxies also help scientists refine their understanding of cosmology itself. They offer test points for theories about the universe's expansion, the nature of dark energy, and the evolution of matter. Each new observation becomes a calibration mark, as delicate and important as a line drawn on an ancient map. And in this process, the galaxies remain both subjects of study and companions in the pursuit of knowledge. Their red-shifted light, stretched thin by the universe's expansion, reaches us as a faint whisper of what once burned brightly. The longer that light travels, the more stories it gathers, passing through cosmic filaments, voids, and the fabric of spacetime itself. By the time it arrives, it is a memory of youth wrapped in distance, softened by time, yet still carrying the warmth of its origin. As researchers piece together these clues, they imagine what the night sky looked like from those early galaxies, stars crowded together, nebulae blooming with fresh light, and radiation buzzing more intensely than today. It must have been a busy sky, a glowing cradle of creation, filled with shimmering pockets of energy. The galaxies were not alone, they grew among companions, forming a cosmic nursery alive with potential. In this bustling early universe, the galaxy's rapid growth seems almost natural, like flowers blooming in a field that is still warm from the sun. The conditions encouraged creativity, and the galaxies simply responded. Their growth becomes easier to understand when seen through this lens, not as impossible anomalies, but as natural outcomes of a universe learning how to shape itself. Still, their light carries a softness that belies their immense power. It glides gently through space, spreading across vast distances, offering itself freely to any eye or instrument capable of capturing it. And in that softness lies their true beauty, not just in how quickly they grew, but in how peacefully they reveal their secrets, one photon at a time. The galaxies also invite us to reflect on our place in the universe's timeline. We observe them from a world far removed from their era, yet connected through the shared thread of cosmic history. Their existence reminds us that creation unfolds in stages, each influenced by the conditions of its time. And just as these galaxies grew faster than we thought possible, our understanding of them grows faster as well, propelled by curiosity and wonder. Their story is not finished. New telescopes, new simulations, and new methods of analysis continue to uncover details hidden in their faint light. Each discovery adds to their narrative, shaping our understanding of how the universe built its earliest structures. And with each new insight, the galaxies seem to glow a little brighter in our imagination, like distant fires kept alive by the gentle hands of time. In the end, these fast-growing galaxies become symbols of cosmic possibility. They remind us that the universe is not static or predictable, but dynamic and full of surprises. Their rapid growth, though puzzling, carries a quiet reassurance that creation comes in many forms, some swift, some slow, all contributing to the grand tapestry of existence. And as their light settles over us like a soft blanket, we drift deeper into the gentle understanding that even the cosmos blooms at its own pace. When we speak of the universe's early fog, we imagine not a harsh mist but a tender, silvery veil that once wrapped around everything, muffling the first light like a blanket drawn over a waking child. This fog, made of neutral hydrogen, filled the cosmos after the universe cooled from its violent beginnings. For millions of years, the early light struggled through it, scattered and softened until it became almost a whisper. And then, slowly, with the rise of the first bright sources, the fog began to lift, not suddenly or dramatically, but with a quiet patience that matched the universe's expanding calm. The first stars played the role of lantern-bearers, their ultraviolet radiation spreading outward like warm breaths against a cold window. Each beam of light chipped away at the hydrogen fog, ionizing atoms that once drifted freely. The process moved gently, like dawn spreading across a sleeping valley. It did not erase the night abruptly, It nudged the darkness aside in expanding pockets of clarity. These early stars, fragile yet fierce, created bubbles of visibility in a universe still wrapped in shadows. These bubbles grew and merged, connecting like dewdrops on a morning leaf, forming pathways where light could finally travel without being swallowed. The fog did not vanish all at once. It thinned in soft, uneven patches, responding to the rhythm of the stars that illuminated it. Each region of early space experienced its own quiet awakening, shaped by the number of stars forming within it. Where galaxies clustered, reionization moved quickly, like light spreading through open curtains. Where matter was scarce, the fog clung stubbornly, dimming the glow for a little longer. Astronomers traced this slow clearing through subtle patterns in ancient light, using signals from hydrogen itself as a guide. The 21-centimeter line, a delicate radio whisper, holds clues about where the fog remained thick and where it dissolved. It is as if the universe left behind faint footprints, each one marking a moment when a small patch of darkness surrendered to illumination. Though we cannot see the process directly, these clues allow us to reconstruct the cosmic dawn as one might imagine the quiet lifting of mist on an untouched lake. This transformation, the Great Reionization, did more than reveal the universe. It changed its behavior. Once the gas became ionized, it could no longer collapse as easily into new stars, slowing the frantic early pace of creation. The universe took a breath, allowing structures to grow with more deliberation. It was as if the cosmos, having rushed to ignite itself in the first billion years, now settled into a slower, more reflective phase. The fog's disappearance marked the end of its chaotic infancy and the beginning of its long maturity. The first galaxies were key architects of this moment. Their young stars, massive and short-lived, burned with ferocity, pouring radiation into their surroundings. These stars lived fast, died dramatically, and in their brief lives contributed immense energy to the clearing of the cosmic fog. Their explosions, supernovae, added an extra push, stirring gas, carving cavities, and allowing radiation to travel farther. In their brilliance and in their death, they helped shape the transparency of everything that followed. Yet even these bright stars were not the only contributors. Quasars, supermassive black holes feeding with intense hunger, also played their part. Their radiation was stronger, sharper, reaching vast distances and piercing the fog more efficiently. But they were fewer, rare jewels in the early universe's crown. Their light added strokes of clarity where stars alone might have taken longer. Together, stars and quasars formed a slow chorus, guiding the fog away with a combination of gentle persistence and sudden bursts of power. As the fog receded, the universe's large-scale structure became visible in ways it had never been before. Filaments of dark matter, once hidden, now served as scaffolding for galaxies that stretched along cosmic threads. Voids opened like great silent chambers, and clusters gathered like glowing islands. The transparency allowed light to move freely, knitting distant regions into a single observable tapestry. It was the moment when the universe first became truly navigable by photons, a milestone that would define everything we see today. Scientists often describe reionization as the universe turning the lights on. But the metaphor oversimplifies the subtle, unhurried nature of the event. It was not a switch but a soft unveiling, an unfurling of clarity across expanding space. It happened over hundreds of millions of years, long enough that each region's awakening felt unique. Some areas brightened early, warmed by abundant stars. Others lingered in near darkness, slow to respond. The universe's fog lifted with the same gentle unevenness that morning fog retreats from a quiet forest. Observations from telescopes like JWST allow us to peer into this early era with increasing precision. We study galaxies that existed when the fog was still present, their light stretched and softened by the hydrogen that surrounded them. These galaxies appear small and reddish, their forms blurred by distance and time, yet they carry within them the fingerprints of reionization. Their brightness, their star formation, and even the shape of their spectral lines reveal how much fog lay between them and the cosmic horizon. In some of these galaxies, researchers find evidence that they leaked substantial ultraviolet radiation, suggesting they were powerful participants in the clearing of space. Their structures may have been porous, shaped by stellar winds that carved channels through which light could escape. In others, dust and gas trapped much of their energy, meaning they contributed little to the grand shift. This diversity shows that reionization was not a uniform story, but a mosaic, a patchwork of bright and quiet regions slowly stitching themselves into a unified sky. During this era, the temperature of the universe changed as well. Ionization heated the intergalactic medium, making it more energetic and less likely to condense. This heating helped regulate future star formation, acting like a gentle thermostat on the cosmos. The fog's lifting was not merely visual, it altered the physical conditions of space itself. From then on, galaxies had to work harder to gather the cold gas needed to make new stars. It was a quiet tightening of the rules, a shift from the universe's wild youth into a more measured adulthood. The interplay between ionizing radiation and remaining pockets of neutral gas created boundaries that flickered and moved. Along these boundaries, light battled with fog, creating regions of partial clarity and fluctuating opacity. These transitional zones were vast but delicate, constantly reshaped by new bursts of star formation or sudden star deaths. It is in these zones that the universe's early complexity becomes most apparent, a place where illumination and shadow negotiated the terms of coming transparency. As reionization progressed, more and more of these boundaries dissolved, replaced by wide expanses of ionized space. The intergalactic medium, once thick with atoms that absorbed every passing photon, now became a thin, ethereal sea through which light could flow almost effortlessly. The cosmic fog did not fall like rain, it simply faded, thinning until it no longer held the power to obscure. This gradual disappearance marked one of the most gentle yet transformative periods in cosmic history. Even as the fog lifted, pockets of neutral hydrogen remained, sheltering themselves in dense regions where radiation could not easily penetrate. These pockets persisted like small echoes of the earlier universe, slowly shrinking as galaxies grew and clustered. Their presence reminds scientists that reionization was not total or instantaneous. Remnants of the fog lingered for longer than once believed. These lingering shadows provide valuable clues about the timing and distribution of ionizing sources. Eventually, the universe reached a state where most of the hydrogen between galaxies was fully ionized. The fog had retreated to the interiors of galaxies themselves, where cold gas could still gather and form stars. This shift allowed cosmic structures to communicate clearly through light, enabling the universe to become the vast, interconnected expanse we observe today. What once seemed clouded and uncertain now stretched open, revealing the early architecture of creation. When we look back across the billions of years, the lifting of the fog appears serene, even though it was powered by immense energy. That serenity comes from distance, from the way time softens the sharpness of events. In reality, the radiation that cleared the fog was fierce, its photons energetic enough to rip electrons from atoms. Yet through the lens of cosmic memory, it feels like a gentle rising of clarity, a transition handled with the universe's characteristic patience. The era of reionization also marks the beginning of cosmic visibility. Before it, the universe was in many ways hidden behind its fog. After it, the first stars, galaxies, and structures became accessible to observation. It is the threshold between mystery and revelation, between opacity and understanding. When the fog lifted, the cosmos opened its eyes, and the earliest chapters of its story finally became legible. The galaxies that existed during this time carry scars and signatures of the fog's retreat. Their light shows absorption troughs where pockets of neutral hydrogen blocked certain wavelengths. These patterns help astronomers measure how much fog remained and how quickly it faded. Each galaxy becomes a witness, offering testimony written in its light, describing the quiet moment when the darkness around it began to thin. Supernovae, too, left imprints across this era. Their shockwaves helped push back gas, clearing paths for radiation that might otherwise have been trapped. In some regions, a single supernova may have altered the pace of reionization, its force carving corridors through thick hydrogen clouds. These explosions added punctuation marks to the otherwise fluid unfolding of early clarity, shaping the cosmic landscape in ways both violent and strangely peaceful from afar. Reionization did not erase the universe's past, it revealed it. The structures that formed during the cosmic dark ages, filaments, halos, early clouds, suddenly stood exposed, illuminated by the expanding glow of young stars. The fog's lifting was like turning a page and discovering that the ink had already been written long before you expected to read it. The universe had been busy building, even in darkness, preparing for the moment when visibility would arrive. As the flow of photons grew stronger, the final phases of reionization unfolded like the last wisps of mist evaporating under a rising sun. Nothing dramatic marked the end, rather, the fog simply became too sparse to dominate. Ionized regions merged into one nearly continuous expanse, and the cosmos settled into its long-lasting state of near transparency. From then on, the universe was a place where light could truly wander. In this newfound clarity, galaxies evolved differently. Without the fog obstructing radiation, young galaxies could influence their surroundings over much greater distances, shaping their environments in ways earlier generations could not. The interplay between galaxies and the intergalactic medium became more dynamic, with feedback processes sculpting gas and influencing future cosmic developments. The universe had matured into a more open, interactive realm. Today, when astronomers map the intergalactic medium, they see the legacy of reionization in its structure and temperature. The fog's lifting left behind a warm, ionized web that still stretches across space. Though countless transformations have occurred since then, traces of that early transition remain imprinted in the universe's vastness. They echo the moment when clarity first took hold, when the cosmos changed from a place of shadow to a place of light. And so, the story of reionization becomes a quiet tale of transformation, one that unfolded slowly, tenderly, and with immense consequence. It is a reminder that profound change does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it comes like mist dissolving at dawn, leaving behind a world forever altered by the gentle lifting of its haze. When galaxies drift toward one another, the universe does not greet the moment with thunder or fracture. Instead, the encounter begins like two gentle tides meeting on a quiet shore. From unimaginable distances, their approach is slow and measured, spanning hundreds of millions of years, so gradual that even the stars within them continue their orbits unaware of the grand convergence unfolding around them. Yet this slow-motion waltz shapes the destiny of everything inside, bending paths, stirring gas, and making beauty from gravity's silent pull. It is a meeting written not in sudden flashes, but in cosmic patience. As the galaxies draw nearer, their outer halos of dark matter feel each other first, brushing together like two soft currents mixing beneath the surface of a vast cosmic sea. These halos interact long before the visible stars ever sense the shift, creating subtle distortions that ripple inward. The galaxies begin to stretch, almost as though they are leaning toward one another, preparing for the embrace. Their shapes warp gently, pulled by forces they cannot escape, reshaped not through violence but through the persistent, elegant tug of gravity guiding them closer. The first true sign of the impending encounter lies in the faint tidal tails that start to unwind from each galaxy's edges. These graceful streamers of stars extend outward like luminous ribbons drifting in space, tracing the gravitational choreography unfolding between the approaching giants. Although stars almost never collide directly due to the vast distances between them, their collective motions respond to the shifting gravitational landscape. The result is a kind of cosmic calligraphy, strands of light drawn out by invisible hands. As the galaxies sweep past one another in their first approach, their gas clouds feel the encounter most strongly. Clouds of hydrogen and dust, once drifting quietly in their spiral arms, become compressed as they cross paths with incoming currents from the companion galaxy. This compression sparks new waves of star formation, lighting up the interstellar medium with clusters of young, bright stars. These new suns flicker to life like tiny lanterns ignited by the meeting of tides, adding youthful brilliance to the unfolding merger. The shockwaves of these interactions travel through the galaxies like soft tremors, stirring the gas into gentle turbulence that belies the scale of the event. In some regions, the gas becomes dense enough to collapse rapidly, while in others it spreads thin, stretched into wispy bridges between the galaxies. These bridges, faint but majestic, form glowing threads of material connecting the two systems. They are like cosmic handholds, temporary pathways across which matter and energy flow as the galaxies continue their slow encounter. During the long dance, the central regions of both galaxies experience a profound transformation. The gravitational forces funnel gas inward toward their cores, feeding supermassive black holes that may have slumbered for ages. As gas spirals into these central giants, they awaken, shining with renewed brightness as quasars or active galactic nuclei. Their outbursts pour radiation into surrounding space, creating winds that push against the inflowing material. These winds carve cavities, regulate star formation, and contribute to the ever-evolving shape of the merging galaxies. Yet for all the drama unfolding on galactic scales, the individual stars continue their journeys largely untouched. They move through vast emptiness, their distances so immense that collisions remain exceedingly rare. From a star's perspective, the merger is not a crushing impact but a slow shift in direction, a gentle altering of orbit caused by the evolving gravitational field. Even entire solar systems drift through the meeting with quiet endurance, unaware that their galaxy has become part of a cosmic pairing. As the galaxies begin to overlap more completely, their spiral structures become harder to distinguish. The once elegant arms twist and distort, forming complex patterns that resemble flowing tides merging into one another. The symmetry they once held fades into a more chaotic but beautiful form, a transitional shape sculpted by tidal forces. In this phase, the galaxies appear almost like celestial storms, their contents swirling but held together by the invisible anchor of gravity. Starburst regions, fueled by compressed gas, flare brightly across the merging systems. These pockets of rapid star formation illuminate the surrounding dust, casting a soft glow like embers in a vast cosmic hearth. The newborn stars shine fiercely and briefly, adding color and structure to the swirling environment. Many of them will burn out quickly, becoming supernovae that further enrich the interstellar medium with heavier elements, gifts that will seed future generations of stars and planets long after the merger has settled. As time flows onward, the galaxies may pass through one another entirely before gravity pulls them back again for subsequent encounters. Each pass reshapes their structure, drawing out longer tidal tails, redistributing stars, and mixing their gas reservoirs more thoroughly. These repeated approaches resemble gentle waves meeting again and again, each contact smoothing out the distinctions between the two galaxies until their individuality blurs and their future becomes shared. Eventually, after billions of years of dance and drift, the galaxies surrender their separate identities. Their cores spiral inward, locked in a slow but unstoppable embrace. When their central black holes finally draw close enough, they too merge, releasing gravitational waves that ripple through the fabric of space-time. These waves are soft echoes compared to earlier cosmic events, Yet they carry the mark of one of the universe's gentlest grand collisions, a union of two vast stellar cities becoming one. The final stage of the merger produces a galaxy that no longer resembles the spirals that first approached each other. Instead, the stars settle into a more rounded, elliptical form, shaped by the randomization of orbits and the mixing of components. The once graceful spiral arms dissolve into a smoother distribution, and the galaxy becomes a calm, glowing entity with a softer profile. The chaos of the collision fades into a quiet new equilibrium, the result of countless interactions rendered invisible by time. In this new unified galaxy, star formation may slow dramatically as gas is consumed or heated beyond the point where new stars can easily form. The galaxy enters a quieter phase, its youth spent, its core settled, its shape stable. Yet even in this calm, echoes of the merger remain, faint stellar streams, shells of stars dispersed in arcs, and subtle patterns in the motions of its inhabitants. These structures are like the lingering patterns of waves long after the tide has pulled back. The merger leaves behind a richer environment, one where heavier elements created in starburst phases mix throughout the galaxy. These elements become the building blocks of planets, moons, and potentially life in far-flung future epochs. The union of two galaxies becomes more than a structural transformation. It is a blending of histories, each carrying its own legacy of stars, worlds, and possibilities. Their meeting ensures that their stories continue together rather than apart. Sometimes smaller companion galaxies are drawn into the encounter, caught in the gravitational reach of their larger neighbors. These dwarfs may be stretched, torn apart, or absorbed entirely, their stars contributing to the halo of the final galaxy. Though these events may seem harsh, they are simply part of the natural ebb and flow of cosmic evolution, each tidal disruption adding another layer of complexity to the final structure. Even the smallest galaxies play their roles in this quiet symphony. Through all of this, the dark matter halos, vast, invisible envelopes surrounding each galaxy, merge as well. Their union is silent, lacking any glow, but it is essential. The resulting dark matter halo becomes larger, smoother, and more stable, providing a gravitational backbone for the new galaxy. Without this unseen merger beneath the visible one, the final structure would lack the cohesion needed to hold its shape over cosmic time. The tides that shape galaxies begin in this invisible realm. Astronomers study galaxy mergers by observing systems in various stages of their interactions, piecing together the timeline like watching different moments of a slow, cosmic ballet. Images of merging systems reveal bridges of stars, glowing knots of star formation, and swirling distortions that map the gravitational choreography. These snapshots allow us to reconstruct not only what happens during a merger but also how our own galaxy may experience such an encounter in the future. Indeed, our Milky Way is expected to merge with the Andromeda Galaxy in about 4 billion years. Their meeting will follow the same gentle principles that guide all galactic encounters. From afar, the event will appear dramatic, spirals intertwining, stars flung outward, tidal tails stretching into the dark. Yet within each solar system, including our own, the experience will feel more like a slow realignment than a violent clash. The stars will dance to new rhythms without ever touching, guided by gravity's calm hand. In this future merger, the Milky Way and Andromeda will create a new galaxy, sometimes called Milkdromeda, though its final name will depend on future astronomers and their imaginations. Its shape will likely be elliptical, its star formation moderated by the mixing and heating of its gas. The night skies of distant descendants, if any remain to see them, will be filled with new arrangements of stars, perhaps brighter and more varied than the ones we know now. Galaxy mergers also help regulate the cosmic ecosystem by redistributing gas and triggering starbursts that recycle material through stellar generations. These bursts forge new chemical elements that enrich galaxies, ensuring that future stars and planets inherit the diversity that makes complex structures possible. In this sense, mergers act as caretakers of cosmic evolution, stirring the pot of creation to ensure that nothing remains static for too long. The gravitational forces involved in mergers stretch stars into long streams that persist for billions of years. These streams, faint and ghost-like, drift across the outskirts of galaxies like trails left by forgotten travelers. They reveal the history of past encounters long after the main effects have settled, allowing astronomers to trace the lineage of a galaxy back through its collisions. Each stream is a memory, a soft echo of tides that passed long before. Even after the galaxies fully merge, residual motion continues to stir the stars. For hundreds of millions of years, they oscillate around their new gravitational center, gradually settling into smoother orbits. This prolonged settling process is like the calming of waters after two tides meet, at first full of motion and swirl, but eventually quieting into a steady rhythm. Time acts as the great pacifier, guiding the merged galaxy into its final tranquil form. Dust clouds within the merging galaxies also transform dramatically. They can be heated, dispersed, or condensed depending on where they travel during the encounter. Some clouds may collapse into dense regions, forming new star clusters, while others may be blown apart by energetic winds. These shifting clouds add texture to the visual tapestry of a merger, appearing as dark swirling patterns woven into the luminous fabric of stars. The fate of planetary systems within merging galaxies depends on their positions and the gravitational changes they experience. Most systems are likely to survive, drifting through the modified landscape of the galaxy with little disruption. Others may be nudged into new trajectories or relocated into regions with different stellar densities. Though the scale is enormous, the process is gentle enough that entire worlds continue their orbits without ever knowing their galaxy has merged. In the end, galaxy mergers remind us that even the largest structures in the universe are shaped by slow, graceful interactions more reminiscent of tides than collisions. They unfold across timescales longer than life itself, sculpting the cosmos through attraction, blending, and slow transformation. The universe evolves not only through explosive events but through these soft, patient encounters that bring galaxies together and weave their fates into a single luminous future. And so, when galaxies collide like soft tides, the result is not destruction but renewal. It is the quiet forging of new shapes, new stars, new possibilities. It is the universe breathing, shifting, and continuing its long, gentle march toward complexity and beauty, one slow, magnificent merger at a time. The story of the early black holes begins like a quiet footstep pressed into the soft dust of the newborn universe, subtle enough to almost be missed, yet profound enough to change everything that followed. These first black holes were not monstrous titans as we imagine today but tiny, delicate seeds formed from the collapse of the earliest massive stars. They flickered into existence as though the universe exhaled and pockets of its breath condensed into points of impossible density, points that listened more than they spoke, waiting for their moment to influence the growing cosmic tapestry. In the dim afterglow of the first light, these young black holes behaved like shy creatures, feeding cautiously at first on the material that drifted too close to their gravitational embrace. Gas clouds, fragments of early stars, and the unclaimed debris of cosmic birth were drawn inward. Yet there was no violence in this beginning, only a slow, steady pull, like an infant universe learning how to fold parts of itself back inward. Their appetite grew with the same softness as dawn spreading across a silent valley. Though they were small, these black holes altered the flow of matter around them, stitching patterns into the early cosmic fabric that would echo for billions of years. Streams of gas were redirected, star formation was influenced, and delicate gravitational dances unfolded in regions that might otherwise have remained still. It's as though they whispered subtle instructions into the universe, telling it where to quiet and where to bloom. Over time, Their appetite became something more than simple consumption. Accretion disks formed around their growing bodies, vast spirals of heated gas glowing like celestial halos, their light flickering through the murky cosmic dawn. These disks grew hotter, brighter, and more chaotic, even as the black holes themselves remained silent at the center, still as sleeping creatures gathering strength in their core. As the universe expanded, matter thinned out, but these early black holes adapted with an almost instinctive precision. In places where gas was sparse, they fed slowly, conserving momentum. In regions where galaxies began forming faster than expected, they gorged on the dense offerings drifting through their reach. Their behavior shaped the evolution of their host galaxies, influencing how stars clustered and how gas cooled, even when the black holes themselves seemed far too small to wield such influence. Many of them grew unexpectedly rapidly, catching astronomers off guard billions of years later as we observed the ancient light reaching Earth. The question of how such tiny seeds grew into massive structures so quickly has become one of the great mysteries of early cosmology. Perhaps they merged with one another, combining their mass in gentle cosmic collisions. Perhaps the early universe provided conditions for unusually fast growth, or perhaps unknown processes helped accelerate their rise. But for now, imagine them as hungry little beasts, drifting through the thickening fog of early cosmic history, each with a subtle but persistent pull that nudged matter into new patterns. Their appetites were not wild but purposeful, shaped by gravity's simple truth: everything falls toward what calls most strongly. And these early black holes called gently, steadily, with a pull that could not be ignored. Black holes, even in their infancy, radiated through the structures forming around them. Jets of charged particles sometimes erupted from the poles of growing black holes, slicing through the surrounding gas like soft lantern beams piercing a mist. These jets heated nearby material, prevented premature star formation, and sculpted the young galaxy into a more orderly state. Their influence was like a gardener pruning a chaotic hedge, coaxing it into something capable of future beauty. The earliest black holes likely existed in populations of newborn stars that were massive, luminous, and short-lived. When those stars collapsed, the remnants left behind became gravitational seeds. Some grew gently, while others merged with neighboring black holes in tiny, early galaxies where distances between stars were short. These mergers were quiet compared to the titanic ones we detect today, yet they reshaped entire pockets of space and rippled through the foggy universe. The growth of these black holes was impacted heavily by the density of the early universe. Everything was closer, everything moved with more urgency, and material flowed more freely. Gas clouds collapsed rapidly under gravity, allowing black holes to encounter more fuel than their modern cousins might ever experience. It was a feast laid out in the shadows of the cosmic dawn, and the black holes dined slowly but steadily, their influence spreading outward. At some point, these early black holes became centers of order within chaos. Around them, disks settled into stable rotations, while outside those disks, stars formed, cooled, and evolved in gentle spirals. The black hole at the center remained unseen but deeply vital. It was the silent conductor of a young galactic orchestra that only slowly learned its symphony. Even as they grew, many of these early black holes remained far smaller than the supermassive ones we know today. They were more like the anchor stones of a foundation, simple in form but essential in purpose. Without them, galaxies might not have developed the structural cohesion needed to survive billions of years of cosmic evolution. Their appetite, while intense, served a purpose beyond self-growth. It steadied the galaxies forming around them. As matter spiraled into these black holes, it emitted soft light, sometimes flickering, sometimes steady, and this glow drifted outward into the early universe. This illumination offered the first hints to future astronomers that something powerful lay at the hearts of ancient galaxies. The faint shimmering was like a distant lighthouse on a foggy ocean, signaling the presence of a deep gravitational well. These early black holes also interacted with dark matter, though not by consuming it. Instead, they moved within dark matter halos, vast, invisible structures that cradled the earliest galaxies. The black holes settled into the densest parts of these halos, helping the galaxy latch onto a stable center. This marriage of visible and invisible matter is one of the reasons galaxies formed in coherent shapes rather than dissolving into drifting clouds. Some early black holes may have been born not from stars, but from direct collapse, massive clouds of primordial gas collapsing under their own weight without ever forming a star. These direct collapse black holes started much larger than stellar remnants, giving them a head start in becoming the supermassive giants we find today. Their existence would explain how some ancient quasars became so massive so early, shining like cosmic beacons across the growing universe. Observations of the early universe show that some black holes were already millions or even billions of solar masses when the universe was just a few 100 million years old. Their rapid growth defies simple explanations. Scientists propose exotic processes like super-Eddington accretion, where black holes consume matter faster than normal physics permits. These processes paint a picture of early black holes as creatures with a hunger governed by conditions unlikely to ever repeat. Yet despite their rapid growth and far-reaching influence, these early black holes remained tiny pinpoints in an enormous cosmic wilderness. Their gravity-shaped galaxies, their light-pierced fog, and their mergers sent faint gravitational tremors across expanding space. They were small beasts with a sudden appetite, but they were never monsters. They were simply part of the universe learning how to build structure, depth, and complexity. Their influence extended even beyond their galaxies. The heat and energy they released affected the intergalactic medium, gently warming it and contributing to the gradual clearing of the cosmic fog. This warming helped influence when and how the universe transitioned from the opaque early epochs into the transparent universe we now observe. Black holes contributed their quiet share to the Great Clearing. As time passed, galaxies merged more frequently, and with every merger came the possibility of black hole convergence. When two black holes spiraled together, they created a new, larger one with a stronger gravitational influence. These events did not happen violently as one might imagine. Instead, they were long, graceful dances ending in a soft but powerful blending of mass and memory. Through all these processes, the early universe continued expanding. Distances grew, temperatures dropped, and material became more difficult to gather. Black holes that had fed ravenously began to slow their consumption. They settled into calmer periods, becoming the stable hearts of young galaxies that were now maturing into more recognizable forms. Their hunger faded into a steady rhythm rather than an urgent need. By the time the universe was a billion years old, many early black holes had become the seeds of supermassive giants. Others remained modest, never quite reaching the enormous scale of their counterparts but still influencing the stars around them. In all cases, their stories contributed to the broader narrative of cosmic evolution, how gravity concentrated matter, how galaxies built structure, and how light escaped the fog of early epochs. These early black holes, small beasts with sudden appetites, were ultimately midwives of galactic life. They nurtured the conditions necessary for stars to form in organized ways, for galaxies to balance themselves around stable centers, and for light to travel farther and more clearly. Their role was not destructive but formative, and their silent labor allowed the universe to blossom into clarity. The growth of black holes influenced the chemical evolution of the universe as well. As they consumed matter, they prevented some gas from forming stars prematurely, ensuring that heavier elements could develop in later generations of stars. This slow pacing of star formation contributed to the diversity of elements we find today, from the carbon in our bodies to the metals in our planets. The black holes shaped the timing of cosmic alchemy. Across billions of years, the early black holes matured into quiet giants, resting at the centers of galaxies that had grown from faint smudges into sprawling structures of billions of stars. They became the anchor points of cosmic cities, holding everything together even as the universe continued stretching outward. Their story, once a whisper, swelled into a legacy engraved into the architecture of the cosmos. And now, when we look back across the immense gulf of time, we do not see the black holes themselves but the shimmering halos of light that surrounded their ancient meals. These traces reach us as gentle signals, illuminating the dawn of time. They remind us that even the smallest beginnings, small beasts with sudden appetites, can shape the destiny of everything that comes after, guiding the universe from darkness into an era where galaxies glowed freely. When you rest tonight, imagine those early black holes not as devourers but as careful craftsmen shaping the young universe with gravity's soft hand. Imagine them pulling matter into order, guiding light into clarity, helping galaxies grow strong enough to withstand cosmic time. Their hunger was never chaos, it was the universe learning to gather itself, one quiet pull at a time. The early universe often feels like a grand puzzle whose edges were cut by someone with trembling hands, the shapes irregular, the patterns faint, and the spaces between them filled with drifting fog. When astronomers look back to those first few 100 million years, they see fragments of information scattered across time, bright galaxies glowing too fiercely, black holes growing too quickly, and empty voids where light should have already reached. These fragments do not fit together neatly at first glance, as though the cosmos arranged its truths in a box without a picture on the lid, leaving us to guess at the final scene through patient, slow assembly. Every new discovery seems to slide a piece into place while nudging another out of alignment, and this shifting tension is part of what makes the early universe feel alive, as though it resists being understood too easily. For instance, faint galaxies appear surprisingly mature despite existing only a short time after the Big Bang, as if they grew in some accelerated cradle where time folded kindly for them. Yet surrounding these galaxies are regions too dim and quiet to match the level of star formation implied. The pieces seem contradictory, like mismatched shapes from separate puzzles. In the soft darkness of cosmic dawn, astronomers must rely on light stretched thin by time, and this ancient glow often arrives distorted, tired, and incomplete. It tells a story, yes, but one with missing chapters and misplaced paragraphs. The earliest galaxies shine with red-shifted whispers rather than clear voices, leaving us to infer their structures, their birth rates, and their interactions from clues that feel more like echoes than declarations. And it is in these echoes that we begin to suspect the puzzle was never meant to be simple. Some galaxies show signs of heavy elements that should not have existed so early, implying cycles of star birth and death far quicker than current physics comfortably allows. Yet nearby galaxies in the same epoch appear pristine, untouched by such enrichment, almost as if the universe experimented with different speeds in different regions. This unevenness is another puzzle piece that does not immediately fit, pushing us to consider whether the early cosmos was far more chaotic and locally varied than models predict. Black holes add their own strange shapes to the puzzle, growing into giants faster than their humble beginnings would suggest. Their mass, luminosity, and surrounding gas behavior deny straightforward explanations. Were the black holes seeded with unusually large initial masses? Was the gas feeding them unusually cold or dense? Or did some environments provide shortcuts that allowed matter to fall inward with unprecedented efficiency? Each hypothesis fits certain observations while clashing with others, like puzzle pieces that align along one side but refuse to interlock on the opposite edge. Even the timing of reionization, the moment when the cosmic fog finally lifted, presents inconsistencies. Some regions seem to clear earlier than expected, while others linger in opacity far longer. It is as if the universe turned on its lights in scattered patches rather than a smooth, gradual glow. These patchy clues suggest galaxies worked in clusters, their combined radiation pushing back the fog in uneven waves that make the overall picture difficult to reconstruct without overstepping the boundaries of known physics. The more we observe, the more the early cosmos resembles a mosaic assembled from mismatched tiles, some vivid and sharp, others worn and broken. Yet within this disorder lies a quiet invitation to look deeper, to listen to the soft distortions, to accept that the universe's earliest years are not a neat timeline but a bristling, uneven canvas of creativity. The puzzle may not fit at first because the universe did not grow linearly. It blossomed in alternating rhythms of chaos and calm. Sometimes, astronomers propose new physics, changes to the rules of gravity, alterations to the behavior of dark matter, or exotic forms of early star formation to reconcile the mismatched pieces. But such proposals must be balanced delicately, for adding one new puzzle piece often dislodges several old ones. The cosmos behaves like a puzzle whose border pieces keep changing shape, teasing us with partial symmetry but refusing to make its full picture obvious. Among the most perplexing pieces are the little red dots revealed by advanced telescopes, small, intensely bright galaxies glowing with a redness that suggests both great distance and immense activity. These dots seem too powerful for their size and age, like embers burning hotter than the logs that birthed them. Placing them in the puzzle requires imagining scenarios where gas collapses faster, stars ignite more rapidly, and matter organizes itself with surprising efficiency, yet even those explanations leave faint mismatches around the edges. There are moments when models predict that galaxies should have been too small or faint to detect, yet observations show them shimmering clearly. And then there are times when models suggest a galaxy should exist in a region, but the sky remains empty, silent, and dark. These absences are puzzle pieces too, shaped like voids, shaped like questions, shaped like the universe politely withholding its secrets until we learn to look with better tools and gentler expectations. The deeper we peer, the more we realize that our understanding is shaped not only by what exists but also by what is blocked from view. Dust clouds, gravitational distortions, and the stretching of time itself smear information across the cosmic canvas, making certain pieces blurry or misleading. A galaxy that appears small might be stretched, a glow that appears faint might be scattered, a redshift might represent distance or motion or temperature or all at once. Each uncertainty makes the puzzle more intricate, yet also more enchanting. Scientists often describe the early universe as non-linear, a polite way of admitting that it behaved with more spontaneity than order. Regions collapsed at different rates. Gas cooled unevenly. Dark matter halos varied dramatically in strength and density. These irregularities mean that puzzle pieces formed with slightly different rules depending on where in the universe they were shaped, and fitting them together requires models capable of embracing that variance rather than smoothing it over. And still, the universe rewards patience. With every refinement in telescope sensitivity, with every improvement in simulation, subtle connections between previously mismatched pieces begin to emerge. A faint distortion aligns with a known star-forming region, a strange spectral signature matches a predicted chemical process, an unexpectedly bright galaxy fits neatly into a revised timeline. These small victories feel like sliding a stubborn puzzle piece into place, a satisfying click after long hours of gentle, cautious effort. Yet for each victory, a new enigma appears. Perhaps an unexpectedly massive black hole challenges existing growth models, or a galaxy cluster reveals maturity far beyond its era. These surprises are not failures of science, but invitations to reconsider the shapes we assumed the pieces would take. The universe, in its earliest form, was not constrained by our preference for symmetry and order. It explored possibilities freely, and these freedoms echo in the mismatches we struggle to align today. The cosmic microwave background adds its own clues, temperature fluctuations so slight they resemble faint scratches on a glass surface. These fluctuations hint at where matter pooled more thickly, where gravity tugged more strongly, and where galaxies might later form. But interpreting these faint patterns requires immense precision. If the puzzle pieces of galaxy formation are irregular, then the background radiation is like a faded map drawn in broad strokes, offering direction but not detail. Simulations attempt to reconstruct the puzzle by evolving gas, dark matter, and radiation forward in time, but even the most advanced models occasionally produce galaxies that grow too slowly or black holes that grow too quickly. Adjusting one parameter often improves one region of the puzzle while unsettling another. The model behaves like a living system. Nudge one corner, and the whole structure subtly shifts. It teaches us humility, reminding us that the early universe was broader and more creative than any single equation can contain. Yet this complexity adds a soothing quality to the search itself. It slows us down, encourages careful thought, and creates a sense of wonder that mirrors the gentle expansion of the universe. Instead of frustration, there is fascination and appreciation for the messy beauty of cosmic birth. The mismatched pieces remind us that the universe is not a solved puzzle but a process, a memory, a quiet unfolding. And its mysteries exist not to confound but to guide us toward deeper understanding. One of the greatest challenges is determining how light traveled through the early universe. Light was scattered by hydrogen fog, absorbed by dust, bent by gravity, and stretched by expansion. Each effect alters the appearance of galaxies in ways that complicate their interpretation. Imagine trying to reconstruct a landscape from reflections seen in rippling water. Some shapes appear fractured, others elongated, but all contain truth if viewed with patient eyes. Moreover, galaxies may have interacted far earlier than expected, merging, tugging, and stirring the surrounding gas. These interactions could accelerate growth, create bursts of star formation, or even seed black holes with extra mass. But the signs of these early encounters are faint and fleeting, like fingerprints smudged by time. Placing these interactions into the puzzle requires accepting ambiguities, trusting that incomplete clues still point toward real cosmic events. Even the nature of dark matter adds uncertainty. If dark matter behaved slightly differently in the early universe, for instance, if it formed clumps or interacted weakly with itself, the shape of the cosmic puzzle would change. Some galaxies would grow earlier, black holes would gain mass faster, and star formation would spike in unexpected pockets. These possibilities offer exciting new puzzle pieces but leave open questions about how they integrate with the pieces we already trust. And then there are the errors introduced by our own perspective. Observing from billions of years away means peering through layers of cosmic history that fold and overlay like sheets of thin fabric. Each layer adds its own distortions, making the puzzle three-dimensional rather than two-dimensional. A galaxy might appear near another but exist millions of light-years apart. A region that seems small may actually stretch across vast distances when fully unfolded. Understanding this depth is part of fitting the pieces correctly. Still, the puzzle continues to evolve as new telescopes gaze deeper into space. Instruments capture light from eras previously hidden, revealing structures that reshape our assumptions. Each new discovery acts like a piece found under the table long after the puzzle began, unexpected, oddly shaped, yet essential. Some pieces even explain mismatches we once thought unsolvable, turning confusion into clarity with a single new corner of insight. In time, the pieces begin to settle. The early universe becomes a picture not of chaos but of diversity, regions maturing at different speeds, galaxies growing in bursts, black holes devouring gas in brief frenzies, star formation igniting unevenly like fireflies across a dark meadow. The mismatches feel less like errors and more like reminders that cosmic evolution was never uniform, never predictable, never meant to be compressed into a single neat story. And as more puzzle pieces slide gently into place, the universe's earliest moments reveal themselves not as a messy mistake, but as a masterpiece of variation. A puzzle where the pieces were always meant to differ, each shaped by its own environment, each carrying a sliver of the cosmos's first breath. The mismatches soften into a story of creativity, of complexity, of cosmic patience. Tonight, as you let your eyes grow heavy, imagine yourself hovering above that ancient era, watching puzzle pieces drift slowly across the early sky. Some align, some resist, some glow, some darken. But together they form a growing picture, a soft mosaic of creation unfolding in its own time. And though the pieces don't always fit at first, they eventually guide us toward the universe's earliest truth, that beauty often begins with misalignment, and clarity is a gift earned slowly across the quiet ages of time.